The cuffs bit into Clara's wrists, cold and unyielding, as the officer's voice barked through the humid evening air. "You should have paid up, lady. Nobody gets a free ride." Clara, 68, a black grandmother with silver braids and a spine of steel, stared back, her eyes burning with a lifetime of resilience. The street, her street, pulsed with the murmurs of neighbors watching from porches and cracked sidewalks. This wasn't just about her. It was about every unpaid bill, every eviction notice, every system that squeezed until there was nothing left. Clara's crime? A $2,000 medical debt from a hospital stay 3 years ago, one she'd been chipping away at with every spare dime from her cashier job. But the debt collectors didn't care about her heart condition or the grandkids she raised alone. They'd sent Officer Daniel Harper, a man with a badge and a temper, to drag her out of her home over a court summons she'd never received. The crowd grew, phones raised, recording the injustice unfolding under the flickering streetlights. "She's no criminal," a teenage girl shouted, her voice trembling. Clara's heart sank not for herself, but for the kids watching, learning what the world thought of people like them. Harper tightened his grip, his face a mask of cold efficiency. "Rules are rules," he snapped, shoving Clara toward the patrol car. Her worn sneakers scraped the pavement, and a gasp rippled through the crowd. Clara didn't beg. She'd survived 2 much segregated schools, a husband lost to violence, a son to prison for tears now. But her silence screamed louder than words, a defiance that made Harper's jaw twitch. He didn't see a grandmother. He saw a number on a warrant, a black woman who didn't matter. 5 minutes. That's all it took for the universe to answer. As Harper pushed Clara into the car, his radio crackled to life. "Officer Harper, report immediately your vehicle's involved in a hit-and-run." His face paled. He'd parked his cruiser illegally, too eager to make the arrest, and now a delivery truck had smashed into it, the wreckage blocking the street. The crowd's murmurs turned to gasps, then low chuckles. Karma didn't wait long tonight. But the real blow came next. A woman in the crowd, Mrs. Jenkins, Clara's neighbor and a retired paralegal, stepped forward, her phone in hand. "Check your warrant, officer," she said, voice steady. "It's invalid." No judge signed it. She'd been on the phone with the courthouse, her quick thinking uncovering the clerical error that made Clara's arrest unlawful. The crowd erupted, voices rising in a chorus of outrage and triumph. Harper fumbled with the paperwork, his confidence crumbling. The warrant was a ghost, a mistake that could cost him his badge. Clara stood taller, even in cuffs. "You thought you could break me," she said softly, her voice cutting through the chaos. "But this street, these people theory my family. You don't get to win." Harper's face burned red, not from shame, but from the realization that he'd been outmaneuvered. The crowd closed in, not with violence, but with the weight of their unity, their phones still recording, their voices demanding justice. He uncuffed her, muttering under his breath, but the damage was done. The precinct would hear about this. Internal affairs would too. Harper's career hung by a thread, his arrogance exposed in the glare of a dozen phone screens. Clara rubbed her wrists, her gaze steady. "Next time, read the fine print," she said, turning to hug the teenage girl who'd spoken up. The crowd cheered, a raw, cathartic release. Clara didn't go home right away. She stood with her neighbors, sharing stories of other fights, other victories. They talked about the hospital bills that crushed them, the system that saw them as less. But tonight, they'd won. Not just for Clara, but for every grandmother, every kid, every soul who'd been pushed too far. The wooden fence nearby bore a new sign, scrawled in chalk. "Debt demands justice." It wasn't just a slogan, it was a promise. Harper drove off, his cruiser limping from the crash. Clara's grandkids ran to her, their small arms wrapping around her waist. She smiled, not because the fight was over, it wasn't, but because she'd shown them how to stand. The street, alive with voices, felt like home again. Injustice had come for Clara, but it left bruised, humbled by the power of a community that refused to break. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.